There's a new colony sim in town, and this one brings some cozier vibes to the settlement management space. Of Life and Land has recently made its early access debut, and in this video I'm going to be giving my first impressions of this game and giving a full overview of what the game is currently like and what to expect in future updates. This is something I do regularly on this channel, so make sure to subscribe if you're interested in more videos about indie games. Without further ado, let's grind this game down and see how it brews. Colony sims typically don't have a whole stack of story in them, and this one is no different. The story in this game follows you being given the task of settling a new area, as the current city is becoming overpopulated and generally making its people miserable. So one of the leaders of the city ships you off up north to the wild to make a new settlement. From there, they pretty much leave you to your own devices, and the main storyline definitely becomes background noise for the game. There are definitely a lot of smaller storylines woven in through all of your settlers via some of the quests, which are pretty much the main way the story is conveyed. These quests definitely drive the gameplay with different goals and tasks to complete and give you that little bit of an insight into what's going on with your settlers. Of Life and Land definitely has the beginnings of a really great story that I'd love to see fleshed out a bit more in the full game, but given that it's a colony sim, this isn't essential to it being a great game. We see a lot of familiar mechanics in Of Life and Land. You start off with nothing but a handful of settlers and resources and need to build a whole new settlement from the ground up. There's a pretty big variety of resources you need to source, including things like wood, stone, grass, grain, and so on. So a lot of these resources will only grow naturally in areas with healthy soil, and the soil can actually be contaminated by different buildings or even overpopulation of certain animals. The map has some really useful overlay modes that show things like the soil health, as well as like where your mining ores are, and a bunch of other cool modes, which is really useful in this game. Crafting is pretty extensive with a whole range of different buildings that craft different things. And one of the cool things about the crafting is that a lot of the resources can actually be crafted in more than one way. So you can choose to optimize your crafting based off which resources are plentiful in your area. As you progress in the game, your settlement moves through different levels, which unlocks different buildings, which in turn unlocks more crafting options. But the fun doesn't stop there. Once you build your community center, you can start exploring other areas too. Some of these areas in the larger map are populated, so you need to negotiate deals with them to be able to trade or build on their land. And some of them are not populated, so you can send your resources there and establish other settlements in the different maps. Now, why do you need more settlements, I hear you ask? Well, some of the resources are only located in these other maps, particularly things like the mining ores. So you need to be able to establish some form of settlement in each area to be able to gain access to these resources, which are crucial for progression. You gain more settlements by taking in immigrants and from your existing settlers having babies, but you need to ensure you've got adequate housing for every resident. The gameplay follows a seasonal loop, with the seasons varying depending on which map you're in. But winter is brutal no matter where you are, and you can lose a decent chunk of your settlers if you aren't properly prepared. So you definitely need to make sure you stock up on food and other resources before the cold hits. Probably one of my favorite features in this game is the time controls, so you can actually change your time from 1 times all the way up to 300 times, which is really useful. And as someone who doesn't like to wait, 300 times was my best friend. The game has a really cute voxel art style that is quite simple, but it's done really well. There are so many different animals that are all designed so well. I could not believe how many different variations of animals I found in my gameplay. And I love that as you progress, your buildings change to look more like proper town buildings and really add to the established feel of your settlement. The sound design is really great, creating a relaxing atmosphere to establish your settlement in, and the sound effects are really useful for notifications like messages, buildings being finished, and just add that extra magic to the game. There isn't a roadmap out for the game as of yet, but it's already had a couple of patches, and the dev is actively sharing upcoming things in the Discord. So if you are interested on what's coming out, definitely jump into the Discord, because that is the best place to get updates for this game. Overall, Of Life and Land is a really solid game that's really fun to play. I would love to see a little bit more balancing, as it does feel like it takes a really long time to build some things and craft certain objects, and it is a little bit confusing to work out how the different maps integrate together and why you need to build or trade with other settlements. So I'd love to see more tutorial in place for that element. Now, there is a custom map creator in the game, but I would love to see some other campaign maps that you can play too, with different scenarios and different resource distribution, because I think it would be really great for replayability. Now, Would I recommend this game? Yes, I would recommend this game. It is a stack of fun. It's very playable. It does feel a little bit early access, but not significantly. And I would definitely recommend jumping in on this game now before the price increases as it gets closer to 1.0. You can purchase Of Life and Land on Steam now. The link will be in the description below. And if you're interested in checking out some gameplay, you can catch me play through a few hours of the game here. Have you played Of Life and Land yet? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Until next time, stay caffeinated.